Hey guys, Travis here. Welcome to the second of 4 videos on building a healthy worldview. Now, if you're religious, you may find the last video to be a bit depressing. So I want to give you a little spoiler. The 4th layer in a healthy worldview is actually religion. But it's very important that we get there in the right order. If you skip a step or you go out of order, then religion can actually be very dangerous. Religion with the wrong foundation kills people. So we're going to get there, and it's going to be a lot of fun when we do. But let's talk about the second layer. I remember having a conversation with a guy that I really respected intellectually. And he's Catholic now. But when he was young, he was actually a member of a cult. And we're talking a full-blown insular society, total regulation of how he thought and acted. And he was telling me all these ludicrous beliefs that the cult had about angels and life forces. And I was staring at him just incredulous. And he stopped halfway through his story and he said, "I know what you're thinking. How does a smart guy like me get tangled up in a cult?" And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. How do you, a clearly smart guy and intellectual, how do you get tangled up in this? How were you actually passionate about it?" And he said, "Because smart people crave answers, and cults have an answer for everything. Every single question, every objection, every concern, every fear has an answer, and it all ties together, and it has a neat little bow on it." For someone who's brilliant like him, that is incredibly appealing. He wanted to know the answer. He wanted to know what happened when he died, and he wanted to know where the universe came from and so on. And this cult riding in and saying, "We've got all the answers. Just get on board. We'll teach you everything." It satisfied a craving deep within him, a profound curiosity, and maybe even a fear. We crave answers. But unfortunately, we can't take shortcuts and just come up with the answers because we want them so badly. And since there has never been any verifiable observation of a God, the second layer is atheism. American atheists define the word atheism as a lack of belief in gods. That doesn't mean that you actively believe that gods do not exist. Atheism simply means that you don't have a belief that a God exists. And an atheist will say, "I don't believe in any of that stuff. When we die, our consciousness simply fades away and we decompose, and that's the end of it." If you're coming from a religious or a spiritual perspective, and you don't have atheism as the foundation, you might go to an atheist and say, "Well, where did the universe come from?" And a agnostic atheist building on that first layer will simply say, "I can't explain this, but I'm looking for an answer too. As soon as I have knowledge, then I'll have a belief attached to it. But right now, since there's no knowledge giving us an answer to where the universe came from, I simply don't have a belief. I would love to know. I'm so curious. It can be terrifying to not know. But I'm simply going to live with my curiosity and my not knowing until we have an answer. I'm not just going to accept an answer because it's convenient." Now, I want to read you guys a excerpt from a little pamphlet put out by Sigmund Freud, the father of psychology. It's called "The Future of an Illusion." He says, "The elements seem to mock human control. The earth quakes and is torn apart and buries all human life in its works. Water deluges and drowns everything in a turmoil. Storms blow everything before them. There are diseases. And finally, there is the painful riddle of death. Nature rises up against us, majestic, cruel, and inexorable. She brings to our mind once more our weakness and helplessness. Man calls for consolation. Life and the universe must be robbed of their terrors. Moreover, his curiosity demands an answer. The first step, the humanization of nature. Impersonal forces and destinies cannot be approached, but if the elements have passions like us, if death itself is not something spontaneous, but the violent act of an evil will, if everywhere in nature there are beings around us of a kind that we know in our own society, then we can breathe freely, can feel at home in the uncanny, and can deal with our senseless anxiety. We can adjure the gods, appease them, bribe them." It takes intellectual humility to be an agnostic. But to be an atheist requires something more. It requires intellectual courage. Atheism is being strong enough to face the trauma of self-consciousness, the knowledge of your own mortality. So those are the hard lessons. Once we have that foundation, atheism built on the foundation of agnosticism, the final 2 videos, the next 2 layers, are going to be a lot more exciting. So I'll see you soon.